All right, first off, we want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakwadash. That's all honor and glory to the Most High God through His Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, man. Right? So, we here gathered together. Let me get the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2 and verse 1. Right? Zephaniah 2 and 1. Right? And then let me get the book of Acts, chapter 18 and 4. Right? Go ahead, read it.
All right, this is Zephaniah 2 and 1. Gather yourselves together, gather together, O nation not desired.
Right, so we are commanded to gather ourselves together, O nation not desired. We are that nation that's not desired. The so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we're that not desired nation. And we're commanded to gather ourselves together in these last days, right? Especially in these holy convocations, these Sabbaths, man, right? So we gather together to congregate and praise the Lord's name for the salvation He brought to Israel against the other nations, man. Right? Read that.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 18 and verse 4. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks.
Right. So we reason together every Sabbath. This is still a Sabbath. So we reason with the Jews, no Greeks. We're reasoning with all the Jews in the northern kingdom. Acts 18 to 21.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 18 and verse 21. But bade them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast.
I must what?
I must by all means keep this feast.
I must by all means keep this feast. Right? These feasts are things that we have to keep. Right? We have to keep the feast. Like Paul was literally doing the work of the Lord. They wanted him to stay, and he had to go back to Jerusalem to keep the feast. Right, so we got to keep these feasts as commanded by the Most High God, right? And this feast is a particular feast where we have a lot of fun. We get to pass out gifts to one another and give gifts to the children as well, right? We shouldn't want to miss this feast, right? Give me the book of Proverbs, chapter 5 and verse 15.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 5 and verse 15. Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well.
Right, so we're supposed to drink waters out of our own cistern. Waters represent what? Knowledge and wisdom. Meaning what? When we partaking in our own high holy days, not partaking in Christmas, not partaking in birthdays, not partaking in those folly days, we're drinking waters of our own cisterns. That's what we're doing when we're doing our heritage, right? Give me the book of Sirach, chapter 17 and 11, right? So we got to drink waters out of our own cisterns. Only our own, right? Not the other nations, right?
This is the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 17 and verse 11. Beside this, he gave them knowledge in the law of life for an heritage.
Right? These ways are our heritage, right? Purim is our heritage. The destruction of Nicanor is our heritage. All these feast days that we're commanded to keep, they are heritage. That's why we're keeping them. Now that we've been given back our heritage, we're walking in our heritage, man. And we got to walk into our heritage happily, right? Not begrudgingly, but happily, man. Right? Because that's how you love the Lord. Give me the book of John, chapter 14 and 15.
The book of John, chapter 14 and verse 15. If you love me, keep my commandments.
So if you love Yahweh, you keep his commandments, man. And it's a commandment, literally to walk in the commandments of the Most High by following the creed set up by men that the Lord set up, man, right? Give me the book of Hebrews 13 and 17, right? Hebrews 13 and 17. And then give me the book of Romans chapter 13 and verse 1, right?
All right, this is Hebrews 13 and 17. Obey them that have the rule over you and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls as they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you.
We got to obey those, right? Those, the ones we're obeying is Paul. Paul is set up. This is Mordecai that set up Purim, right? But nonetheless, we got to obey those that have been set up before us, right? The ones that decreed these feast days, we got to obey them, right? They're only set up for our good. Read that again.
Yeah. Obey them that have the rule over you and submit yourselves, For they watch for your souls as they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you.
So those that have been set up are literally those that have been set up to watch for our souls. So these commandments, these feast days that we're supposed to be keeping, even though they may not be kept, may not be written in Leviticus 23, the Lord set up and ordained these men to give power in order to ordain days and things for us to keep. So this is an ordained day that we still have to keep because the Lord set these men up to ordain these days, even if it's not written in Leviticus 23, right? Read.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 13 and verse 1. Let every soul be subject unto the high powers, for there is no power but of Yahweh. The powers that be are ordained of Yahweh.
Right? The powers that be are ordained of Yahweh, right? That's Paul was writing that in understanding to stop the zealots that were actually going off and killing the Romans. But nonetheless, that's a twofold scripture because when the Lord set up Mordecai and so on and so forth to be powers that be, he set them up. He ordained them. He gave them understanding. He gave them the wisdom that he needed. He gave him the wisdom that he needed in order to ordain this day for his people. Gave him the wisdom that he needed to raise up Esther as his own daughter to be so submissive and so righteous that she walked in a lot that she hated just to please her Lord, man. And ultimately was used to do what? Bring salvation to Israel, right? That's a major thing, right? Read on.
Verse 2. Whosoever therefore resisted the power, resisteth the ordinance of Yahweh, and they that resist shall receive to them they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation.
See that? So you can't resist the powers, man. You can't resist the powers. A lot of people like to say, oh, well, it's not written in the Torah. Oh, well, it's not written in the law, so you don't got to do it. No, if the Lord set up a man and gave him the spirit and the power to ordain these things, to bring salvation to Israel and ordain the day, then you can't resist the day that they set up, man. If they say it's supposed to be kept, it's supposed to be kept, right? So we keep it with gladness, man. All right, go ahead, read that.
All right, this is Esther 2 and 7. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan, the palace, to the custody of Hegai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Hegai, keeper of the women. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of the women. Esther had not shewed her people, nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. Now when every maid's turn was come to go into King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women. For so were the days of their purifications accomplished, to wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Shashgaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Hegai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
So Esther, the Israelite woman, was made queen, right? And she had, at this point, had not made known her people because Mordecai charged her to do it, which is another instance of Esther showing her righteousness, right? Because what? Her uncle or her cousin, who was raised as her father, gave her charge of what to do in wisdom, and she held fast to that. She may have made it known who her people were ahead of time, and may have not been chosen, right? A lot of the nations feared the Jews, right? Give me the book of Romans chapter 15, right, in verse 3, right? Romans 15 and 3. Right, because it's very important that we look at these scriptures and we understand that they're for our learning, man. Right, taking charge that listening to the ones that are set up over you, that the Lord has set up over you in righteousness, is a wise thing to do, man. Right,
The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 3. For even Hamashiach pleased not himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on me. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
So the things that are written aforetime are written for our learning. So understanding that Esther was given charge by Mordecai, right, not to show her people, and she did not do it, showing you what? That she honored the person that was like a father unto her. So all the children need to honor their fathers, and every woman has to honor her husband in the same manner, right? Because a woman is given unto her husband the same way, she's as a possession the same way that a daughter is a possession of her father, right? So you have to honor them in that same manner, right? All right, give me the book. Yeah, you got that.
This is Esther 3 and 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, Salaki, nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
Right, so Mordecai wouldn't bow down to Haman, right? Because he wasn't supposed to. He wasn't supposed to reverence Haman. Haman wasn't of his people. Haman wasn't the Most High. Haman wasn't Yahweh, right? So he wasn't supposed to. Mordecai was doing what he was supposed to do in righteousness, and he wasn't scared to get put to death for it, man. Right? That's an important thing for all of us to learn as well. Read that.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17 and verse 14. When thou art come unto the land which Yahweh thy power giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose.
Right? And Haman wasn't chosen to be king over our people. So Mordecai didn't reverence him as he shouldn't have reverenced him. Right? He wasn't set up to be king over our people by the Most High. Right? And whatever.
One from among thy brethren.
One from where?
One from among thy brethren.
One from among thy brethren. Right? And Haman was an Edomite, man. So he wasn't reverencing him. He was an Edomite. Right? Read.
One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee that is not thy brethren. So if you're not an Israelite, hey, you can't rule over us, man. We're gonna rebel, right? Read that, Esther 13.
Khan, this is the book of the rest of Esther, chapter 13 and verse 8. Then Mardochæus thought upon all the works of the Lord and made his prayer unto him, saying, O Lord, the King Almighty, for the whole world is in thy power. And if thou hast appointed to save Israel, there is no man that can gainsay thee. For thou hast made heaven and earth and all the wondrous things under the heaven. Thou art Lord of all things, and there is no man that can resist thee, which art the Lord. Thou knowest all things, and thou knowest, Lord, that it was neither in contempt nor pride for any desire of glory that I did not bow down to proud Ammon. For I could have been content with good will for the salvation of Israel to kiss the soles of his feet. But I did this, that I might not prefer the glory of man above the glory of Yahweh. Neither will I worship any but thee, O Yahweh, neither will I do it in pride. And now, O Yahweh power, and King, spare thy people, for their eyes are upon us to bring us to naught. Yet they desire to destroy the inheritance that hath been thine from the beginning. Despise not the portion which thou hast delivered out of Egypt for thine own self. Hear my prayer. Come.
So Haman, in his anger and his fury, because Mordecai wouldn't bow down to him, wanted to kill off all the Jews. And in the prayer of Mordecai, he said, I didn't bow down to him. Why? Because I'm only going to reverence and worship the Most High God, right? So he did it in righteousness. He didn't do it out of pride, but he did it out of reverence in the Most High God. Understanding that you're only supposed to worship the Most High God and him alone. You're not supposed to worship anybody else, man, right? And he understood that. That's why Mordecai is righteous, right? And we got to understand that we can only reverence the Most High, nobody else, man, right? Read what you got.
Is Esther 4 and 8. Also, he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to shew it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. And Hattach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again, Esther spake unto Hattach and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king should hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me. And neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him.
Right? So Esther is willing to risk her life for her people, man. Now she had to be exhorted by her cousin, by Mordecai. He had to tell her, hey, look, don't think that you're going to escape these things just because you're in the king's house. Your father's house, you and your father's house will perish, and the Lord will raise up salvation in another. And we all got to understand that, man. Right? Hey, none of us got to be in this thing. The Lord can take out any one of us and put our spirit, our understanding on another person, man. Right? Hey, simply for missing a feast day if you want to, man. Right? Simply for missing a prayer if you want to, man. So we got to literally be grateful that the Lord gave us understanding to know that we're Israel and that we got to be keeping his commandments, man. Right? And understanding that, hey, well, we're going to get the precept. Go ahead and get there.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 16, and verse 25. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it.
right? Whosoever shall save his life shall lose it, man, right? Give me John 15:3, right? She wasn't seeking to save her life. She wasn't seeking to just be comfortable in the home of the king, right? She was seeking to serve her people because it's a commandment or a precept of Yahweh Shai, who only spoke the things that are written in the law that you should do what?
This is the book of John, chapter 15 and verse 3.
13.
Salakia. 13 and verse 3?
15 and verse 13.
Okay. Verse 15, verse Salakia. Chapter 15, verse 13. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends.
See that? So she was ready to lay down her life for her friends, for her people, man. There's no greater love than that, man. Right? So she wasn't worried about, continuing on and just being the queen. She actually hated being the queen. She actually hated laying next to a heathen, man. Right? But she was walking in her lot, and the Lord used that to obtain salvation in Israel. And because what? She had faith in the Lord. Let's see what the Lord did for her.
All right, this is the additions of Esther, chapter 15 and verse 8. Then Yahweh changed the spirit of the king into mildness, who in a... All right, verse 6. Then having passed through all the doors, she stood before the king, who sat upon his royal throne, and was clothed with all his robes of majesty, all glittering with gold and precious stones. And he was very dreadful. Then lifting up his countenance that shone with majesty, he looked very fiercely upon her, and the queen fell down and was pale and fainted and bowed herself upon the head of the maid that went before her. Then Yahweh changed the spirit of the king into mildness. Then Yahweh changed the spirit of the king into mildness, who in the fear leaped from his throne and took her in his arms till she came to herself again, and comforted her with loving words, and said unto her, Esther, what is the matter? I am thy brother, be of good cheer. Thou shalt not die, though our commandment be general, come near. And so he held up his golden scepter, and laid it upon her neck, and embraced her, and said, Speak unto me. Then said she unto him, I saw thee, my Lord, as an angel of Yahweh, and my heart was troubled for fear of thy majesty. For wonderful art thou, Lord, and thy countenance is full of grace. And as she was speaking, she fell down for faintness. Then the king was troubled, and all his servants comforted her.
See that? So the Lord changed the countenance of the king against from bad to Esther to good, man. Through her faith and through her being honorable, right? Through her being righteous and doing what? Seeking the Lord before she went to see the king. She could have just said, you know what? I'm going to put on my finest apparel. I'm going to have my best smelling things on. I'm going to look as good as I can. And I'm going to walk in there and he ain't going to be able to deny me. No, she did the opposite, man. She literally put dung on her head, rent her clothes, and fasted unto the Lord and put herself in affliction, asking the Lord to give her the power and the strength to do these things. And because she went about it that way, the Lord did what? The Lord changed the countenance of the king, man. Right? Read what you got.
The book of Esther, chapter 7 and verse 3. Then Esther the queen answered and said, If I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request.
And my people at my request, man. So her petition was not just for herself, it was for her people, right? And from that, the decree, he sent a decree out for the Jews to do what? To defend themselves against anybody who comes against them, right? Read.
All right, this is Esther 9 from the top. And it says, Now in the 12th month, that is the month of Dar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them that hated them. The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and the officers of the king helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. But this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater.
See that he waxed greater and greater. And how did Mordecai wax greater and greater? What is it that caused Mordecai to be able to wax greater and greater? Right? Give me the book of Job, chapter 17 and verse 7.
This is the book of Job, chapter 17 and verse 7. Mine eye also is dim by reason of sorrow. You said verse 6? Verse 6. He had made me also a byword of the people. Verse 8. Upright men shall be astonished at this, and the innocent shall stir up himself against the hypocrites. The righteous also shall hold on his way, and he that hath clean hands shall be stronger and stronger.
So he had clean hands. That's what kept him to go stronger and stronger. That's why he was waxing mightier and mightier. He was upright and he had clean hands. Meaning what? He was walking in the commandments of the Most High God. That's what gave Mordecai the strength and the power to be so mighty and wax mightier and mightier, mightier and mightier, which in turn had all the deputies and all the generals of the other nations scared of Mordecai and helping the Jews instead of fighting against them. Ultimately, it was the Most High God that did it, but he did it because of what? The righteousness of Mordecai and Esther, right? That's why all of us got to understand our righteousness really, it literally brings salvation to our people, man. The more righteous we are, the closer we become to salvation, man, right?
Esther 9 and verse 17. On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day of the same they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
All right, we're going to jump down to 21.
All right, it says, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly. All right. Verse 22. As the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast pur, that is, the lot, to consume them and to destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he and his sons should be hanged on the gallows. Wherefore they call these days Purim, after the name of Pur. Therefore, for all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all such as joined themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year. Verse 28, and that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, every city, and that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed.
So there you have it, right? That's why we keep Purim, and that's what Purim is, right? So we're supposed to give portions to the poor, gifts to one another, right? And have feasting and gladness. And this is supposed to happen every year from every family, man. On and on and on. It didn't say it's kind of going to stop after Christ came. It says it's supposed to happen every year, every generation, man. So we're going to continue to keep it as long as we're on this wicked earth, man. Lord willing, it's the last one. But if not, hey, we're going to keep it again next year, man. And with that, shalom.